Okay, well, I guess I seem to be showing everything I'm doing. So I went over how you do the control horns and servo on here, but I thought I'd show something since the last two Skywings, so the this one and then the 104-inch Yak 54. They came here. Let's see if I can show it to you. They came, yeah, you can see pretty clear with no pre-drill pilot holes, which they've always had, the Extreme Flight and the Skywing, and they have them on other parts of the plane. It's all pre-drilled, but they seem to, for some reason, have stopped doing it on the elevators. So you got to drill servo screw holes, and so the thing on that is that they're a ways back. So your normal 16th inch bit, it's not going to be long enough to get on a drill and get in there, because let's see, it's got to go all the way back to there. So your drill would have to be able to get all the way back to here with the front of your chuck through that little opening. And you may find some little adapter, some really tiny drill. I've seen some of these really toy tools on Facebook lately. So everybody likes little things. I don't know if there's anything like that, but certainly not like a normal drill. Let's see, let's get a small one. Here's a small drill with a small chuck. And if I stick that in there, yeah, that's as far as I'm going. See, and that has a 16th of an inch bit on it. So granted, I could make that a little bit longer in the chuck, but I'm not going to make it. It's way back, no way that's going to get there. So yeah, we're modelers. We can do all kinds of things. So what I've done in the past is I use a impact tool fitting that comes with the drill bits, but I didn't have a 16th. This is bigger than a 16th. So I didn't want to use this one and have too big a hole and have the screws be sloppy. So in both cases, I didn't have the, both those two options of like some type of regular 16th inch bit that has some type of extension on it, didn't have. And then these, impact driver, quarter-inch impact driver bits, I didn't have the right size on that either, because you can put any extension on that and use it. So without either of those, I thought, well, what am I going to do? Like I said, I didn't want to drill a hole too big. So then I always use the number 3 servo screws from micro fasteners, but I still have some bags of the number 2s, which are smaller. Used to use them way back in the old days. Yeah, way back, 25 years ago. So those are pretty small. If you look, they're actually smaller. It's hard to do with one hand. They're actually smaller than that small drill bit that I had. And so I just used those to drill it. I used the small ones to drill it. Ran them through a couple times. And they went through, real easy. Again, this tool makes this so nice on these types of things. And then from there, I'll put it side by side. I went ahead and used my normal, which is the micro fasteners number 3 by 5/8. These are 2 by 9/16. And here's the 3 by 5/8. You can see this one here. It's bigger. And then, ran that thing through. And you can see the holes as well. To be candid, since if I see double 1/8 ply, or if I see the carbon fiber skin, and they go in and they just bite so hard, especially these don't over tighten them. I'm not too worried about it. I've never had one come loose. So you're supposed to thin CA them. And of course I always did on the older ARFs, older kits, when we had an 1/8 inch light ply. And if I see that today, I'm still going to, I'm definitely going to stiffen them up with the thin CA. I mean, it changes them dramatically. It's really good to use. But yeah, again, I always talk about lately anyway to you guys that you're only as strong as your weakest part, and it's just not too weak with that carbon fiber skin. And if you didn't over drill it, and you didn't over tighten it, I've just never had one, not only the servo not pry out, but not even one come slightly loose. So I ain't too worried about it. But yeah, you can definitely drop thin CA in there. It's a good general rule of thumb. I did not here. I don't most of the time anymore. Not with these new ARFs. Yeah, to be clear on that too, like I have had one or two that I over drilled or over tightened that I did drop some thin CA on, and then then tighten it right back up. So that's a method that you can always use when you need to. Oh, and then the last thing, and I've showed this before, like at least once in the last couple of years, but I'll always take, how much tail I want out, and then I'll push the rest through into the stab, and I'll put a piece of sticky Velcro right there, and that keeps this from ever going through and winding up and getting on the servo arm and getting yanked out. Ask me how I know that can happen. So that's a standard thing for me, is to always stick it to the tube. So that's that setup. And then otherwise, these were too tight. So I did use the drill bit, like I showed in the last video, and clean these out because, they wouldn't fit in. Now they fit in fine. So same with those. So I'm getting ready to glue up the elevators right now. Rudder's done. I think I showed that last night. That's working. Maybe I didn't. But anyway, yeah, rudder's on, in and working. And in just a few short minutes here, I'll have the elevators glued up, and I've already got the linkages and everything set up for these to go like that. So these are ready to go. So elevators will be done here real quick. And then on to the ailerons, which will be cinchy. I'll probably have this thing done like Wednesday or something. But yeah, our field's closed at least until Wednesday. Maybe it was Friday that they said that it was going to be closed till Friday. Because we got the red flag alert, the fire alert that everything's real flammable out there. A lot of fuel, a lot of dryness. Very easy to get a fire going. So yeah, everybody's being cautious. And we'll see when we're able to get the maiden. Or, if I'm done on time and it's still that way, I might go up to like a little more Central Cal or something. Maybe San Diego, something. I don't know. We'll see. Or not. I just, I have plenty to do. Anyway, now I'm talking about way bunch of crap. So this will be like segment 1. I'll let this roll into the next, unless I just post it, but probably I'll let this roll into the next thing that I do. I just piggyback them together. All right, out. Yo. Okay, I want to talk about something that you guys may all know already, but thought you might find it interesting if you don't know about it. And it's something like everything else in my life I learned the hard way. The Juan Sanchez Garcia over at Skywing RC, I think he was just doing, like last week or something, some videos on setting mixes with the FreeSky. And got me to think about setting mixes, because I really haven't I haven't set any mixes since I've been back the last 2 years. And then I haven't even trimmed planes out. It's so funny, like anybody flies my plane, like Donnie, Joe McBride's fly my plane, goes, do you trim these out? I go, no, but you could trim it out. Even the aileron trim and the elevator trim, rudder trim, I don't bother. No mixes. They go, you got to mix? No. just fly it, baby. Thumb mix that thing. So, but it's good to have mixes. There's some, at least 3 very important mixes that'll help you a lot. And one of them that almost everybody runs is even the basic guys at the field. Your everyday flyers, they all seem to have the rudder to elevator mix. Amongst others. So everybody kind of knows about it. But and maybe you all know about limits on the travel. But I'm going to show you how this works, and you guys can all let me know in the comments, like, yeah, we already know all that crap, or not. So here we go. Here's why limits are interesting for mixes. Get my radio kind of in a decent spot over here, because I'm going to have to one-hand it. Let's see here. Try this. Yeah, seems pretty good. Okay, radio set to go. So here we have my elevator servo from a new plane. And I've set it up with the travel that I want it to have. This thing's elevator 2, channel 7. My travel is 120, 124. I use the 1 3/4 hole for that. And that gets me the endpoint positions I want. So that's where I want to be there. The control horn's hitting the stab. And then the other way, for the up, that gets me as far as I want to go. So pretty close to bevel to bevel, not quite completely. I don't want it to bind all up or break anything. But, got a ton of throw. As you can see, let's see, get that thing level. Yeah, got a ton of throw. So that's the limits I want. Now, from there, I want to set a rudder to elevator mix, which there's an occasional plane that needs none, which is really nice. So you're flying along on knife edge, and the plane doesn't pitch towards the canopy or towards the wheel pants, towards the belly, at all. And that's super cool. But usually they're going to require a little bit of mix. And any plane, even if it does fly neutral like that, if you change the CG on it, then it's going to change the mix. So most people are putting these mixes in. I used to back in the old days, especially flying IMAC. Haven't been doing it lately. But I plan on doing it, now. I've kind of calming down. Try to fine tune planes a little bit more. I have more idea what I want. So long story. But so I have a mix in this right now. We could go over there and look at it. So if you go over to the rudder to elevator mix, you see if they're rudder to elevator. I got a 10% mix. And so that's, preset, and we'll adjust it later for, on the trim flights, what it needs to be. But if you look back at my endpoints that I had set for this, the limits are the stock, all 135, but the travel is 120, 124, which is nice. Good resolution, good mechanical advantage. And I'm in the position I want to be. If we go now to full deflection, it's going to be a lot to do with my fingers here. So I've gone full deflection on this elevator in the down elevator position. And now if I have that, remember I have that rudder mix in. So when I go on the rudder for knife edge, it's going to mix in some elevator. And I'm at the limit where I want to be here. You see there, it's trying to overdrive it. So as I'm hitting the rudder, it's overdriving the elevator and binding getting stuck. It's not what I want it to do at all. But I do want it, okay, now if I've released the elevator, now I'm going to go back and forth on the rudder. If I was knife edge now, I do want to have the elevator adjusting to that knife edge. And, as far up throughout the range of travel as possible, I wanted to do that. Now I did set up a 70% elevator rate just to show. So here again, I'm full elevator, but it's only at 70%. And then as I wiggle the rudder, so I'm getting the full pitch adjustment in the knife edge right there. And it will go all the way to like whatever it is, 85, 90, or 95%. If you're, let's say, only 5% pitch adjustment, the elevator will be able to go all the way to like 95% of its travel. Well, I think I'm jumping ahead of myself. that you can adjust that to do that properly, but right now it's not doing it properly. It is throughout the entire range of travel, it's trying to go whatever percent that I've got set up for here on the, in this case, 10%, but whatever I've got set up throughout the whole range of travel, even at max travel, it's going to try to add in that mix. And is some of the way planes are set up that, a guy might set up a plane a certain way where he doesn't have that much travel, he might have like where I just had that condition where I'm 70%. So I have a lot less travel. I have all this extra room, but you really shouldn't, your maximum rate should be your best resolution, best mechanical advantage. So you shouldn't really have that situation, but a lot of guys don't have their plane set up that well. And then they could put in a mix like this and it over travels, it may over travel like an eighth of an inch to even a full inch, and they have that room because they're not really set up all that well, and so they don't really notice. But if you're bevel to bevel, and then you add in that you're going to be, binding, breaking out the hinges, breaking out the control horn, all those kind of things, just wearing out your servos and batteries and all that stuff. So you guys probably know all this already, but then to fix that problem, and it's not really a problem, it's a situation, like, because the radios just give you more options this way, because there are other situations with other control surfaces where you would want it to go past the travel that you had set, but not in this situation where I got my elevators pretty much maxed out. So then there's the travel again is, 120, 124, get some light on that, and some all dialed on that. But beyond that, I have these limits. So now if I was to set those limits to the same travel point, the same point that these things move to, if I put a stop on the limit there, then it can't overdrive it to that point. Now in this case, that would be 113 on this side, and it would be just 131 on this side. Now at that point, it doesn't limit. If I lower these limit numbers, even though that's 120 and that's 113, if I lower that to 112, and even though this is 124 travel, and if I lower that to 130, it will limit the amount of travel that I programmed in, or that I set in. There's no programming, but that I set in here at 120, 124. But I want 120, 124, and I just, played with it to see, like holding the stick at full deflection to see where it limited it. So at 113, 131, then my limit is the same as my travel. So now, with those set that way, I just set those in front of you. And then if again, let's go to the high rate. Yeah, so we're going to max out here. Let's get that little finger. Okay, so I'm all maxed out. This is the max travel I want. I'm all hitting the controller and hitting the stab. This is all I got. But I'm going to do that 10% mix on the rudder, and nothing moves. So I don't overdrive the servo, and I don't bind anything up. So you guys saw the first time that if I didn't set those limits to the exact right number, then I was going to overdrive it. But again, it won't overdrive it until it gets to that position. So it's going to work all the way up until. So with this 10% mix of elevator, up to 90% of the travel it will put in there. It just won't put the last 10% in. So you're going to get the full benefit until the end. So it just doesn't overdrive it. And in the end, you'll still have elevator in. You just won't have, max elevator. And you're not going to be, at full rudder and full aileron, you're not going to be needing that mix, of 10%. But if you're on a high alpha knife edge and you're adjusting things, like it's going to work, so everything's going to be what you want. And then, so here, if we go to the 70% point and we do the same thing, then you could see if I do the rudder, I'm going to get the mix. And I could probably change that 70% to 90% and show you that, and that would get the mix, or 89%, whatever it works out to be. And then, but I'm not going to overdrive my servo. Probably you guys all know that, but learn that the hard way. And since Skybound RC was showing those mix videos, and he may explain this in those. I didn't watch those. I just saw that he was putting those up, that Juan Sanchez Garcia was putting those up, and it made me think about this stuff. And I thought that I'd include that in this series on assembling this ARF. All right. Yeah, I'm going to piggyback this onto like the video I just made before this, and then probably another video after this. Okay, out. Okay, fellas, as it turns out, 1 3/4 is a magic number for me on the servo arm for the rudder, as well as for the elevators. Sometimes it turns out to be 2 on the elevators, and I think I've had some planes where it turns out to be 2 on the rudder, but a lot of times lately 1.5 on the rudder, but I needed 1 3/4. Almost could have got away with 2, but I'd rather have more mechanical advantage. So the endpoints are at 138, 129, so pretty far up there. But that got me the geometry look that I like. Let's see if I can do this. So yeah, Skywing sets everything up more the way I like it. That's the travel that I want. I'm trying to get that glare out of there. And that push rod, see, the push rod's parallel right there. It's not too bad, so pretty freaking good. And then here, you know, push rod again. Yeah, pretty much parallel right there with the servo body. And both ways, that's getting me the equal travel, the distance I'm looking for pretty far. I think it's 48 degrees each way. That's what I got. So like an inch short of the elevators on each half. And yeah, pretty happy with that. And that's my 1 3/4 servo arm, making that all work out pretty much just the way that I would want. So as long as I'm kind of seem to be showing you guys everything on this plane, I thought I'd just go ahead and show you guys that. And yeah, one of the guys mentioned, I bought some Futibas, some 703, A703s. 3 of them, you know, so I got one on the rudder, one on each elevator half. And I'm going to test them for strength, test them for flight performance, smoothness, accuracy, and test them for speed. Because they're rated stronger and faster than the high-tech 961s. We're going to see about that. I just don't think, I think these things are overrated. Not just specifically Futaba, but all the ones I've tested. Kind of going off of how strong I feel like the 961 is, but really when I was running the 8 years ago, when I was running the high-tech 9381s, 9380s, when those came out, I found that those were definitely the best servos out at that time, comparing them to the JR MPH 83Ts and all the other servos that were out that had a lot higher ratings, and they were even heavier and bigger, and they took a lot more current, but they weren't faster and they weren't stronger, and they were way not as durable. I think we're going to find something similar, but you know, I wouldn't know if I didn't buy some of these and try them. I bought some MKS servos too to try those out as well. Yeah, just for the experience and for the channel. Got to try everything, man. That's about it. I just, since I'm kind of seem to be showing everything on this plane, I'm just showing that I tried 2-inch, and I had like 105, 115 on the endpoint. So basically, 110 of travel, which is fine. But I thought, let's get, since it's a single servo, on a big rudder, let's get all the mechanical advantage we can. So opted for the 1 3/4, which still got me, in the ball, still got me the travel I needed, with actually really good resolution, and therefore mechanical advantage, by definition, mechanical advantage. So that's good. I wanted to show that, and then I'll lump this in with the last video too as another segment, and we'll see what's next. But looks like I'm kind of showing it all. Show this while I'm here too. I'm sure you guys all do it the same way. I just got a Z-bend in there, so there's no strain on the wire, going through the ball link, because less strain on everything. And then I got some dry lube on the tail wheel tiller that I always do, and then that way, you want least amount of drag on the servo as you can get. All right, that's it for this one. Out. Yo, well, I guess we're talking about everything. So if you put on a GP 123, then you need the large spacer, but you won't need the other little thin spacer that comes with it. Just a large one will set you up pretty good. And then I ran some bolts I got from Micro Fasteners. There's a little Micro Fasteners right there. M6x60s, socket head, cap screw. So I ran 4 of those. And then I put washers on the back. And then I ran Also from Micro Fasteners, I ran some nylon insert lock nuts M6 6mm on the back of those, but I still use some Zap Z42 thread locker blue medium strength. You don't want to use anything stronger than that because you never get them off. Well, you could torch them off. And then one thing I like to do, because I don't like wires to get chafed up here, got all my ignition wires, throttle, servo wire, all them wires. I don't want one. And then, yeah, you know, the cap wires too off the ignition. You know, the electronic wires and the cap wires. So on the threads of those 6mm bolts that come through, you know, you could get something could get cut or chafed on those things. So I like to get you can see pretty good there. I get these black caps, get them off Amazon. And then I put those on with some Zap goo because it's good. Sorry, did that again. So yeah, so that's all set to go. And you can see I'd use double washers. Like the big one gets some purchase, you know, of a wide area of the wood, make it nice and strong, but you know, they do tend to kind of bow a little bit. So then I use a mid-size one. That's kind of, you know, dumb, but that's just something I do. So yeah, that's it on that. And then I'll always, you know, put this little Furby here. I'll drill 2 holes through. This is stick-on Velcro. I'll drill 2 holes here, and then I'll put the loop and hook. So I'll put the hook here. This is the loop. Is that right? Yeah. Anyway, the opposite one. And I'll stick that down, and then I'll put 2 holes through, and I'll put a cable tie because you got this lip here to drill through. So that works out nice, and then usually it's about right about there. And then I got the hole is usually here that the factory leaves with the grommet. So I'll make the connection here, and I'll Velcro cable tie that down, and then go through the grommet, and then pick up the ignition, and then ignition wires poking out through the holes. I usually knock the grommets out, push the cap through, and then push the grommet back over the cap, I think. Yeah, something like that, if it's too tight or not. And yeah, and then my ignition's always mounted on the other side of the hatch door. And then I bolt the hatch down. And yeah, I'll be showing that later, but that's kind of the ignition or the engine mounting. We got the engine mounting done. Yeah, might save somebody half a second by showing them what spacer they need, and yeah, and where to get all the hardware that I use. And 6mm, you don't have to drill anything out. If you use 1/4-20s, you got to drill out the back plate of the engine. And I think, yeah, 2 of the holes in the firewall, they came pre-drilled for 6mm. That's about it for this segment. I'll lump this in with the other ones too. I got about 4 going right now, and that might be enough. We'll see. So out for the moment. All right, last segment of the video. I'll put these all together and post them, and that's just the gap, you know, after I mounted up the motor. That's it, man. Oh yeah, I had to cut some of the baffle off of this side, which is real easy. It's just foam. That just took a second. That's about it, man. I think good to go. Out. Well, hell, one more video. Just want to show you this thing is purty. Sure is. I don't know if I'll be able to see those colors, but nice and pretty. Okay, this is really the last segment of this video. Okay, out. Okay, just one more, I promise. Just fun to see the wheel pants on there. Thing is pretty. It is always fun to get a new plane. Who doesn't love a new plane? All right.